Every year, the world consumes about 20 million tons of sunflower oil. To produce that enormous amount of oil, humans must harvest around 40 trillion seeds from fields that stretch to the horizon. It all begins with a flower famous for its unusual ability to turn toward the sun. Inside each tiny sunflower seed is an oil content that can make up nearly half of its weight. This unique characteristic has transformed a flower that might seem purely ornamental into one of the world's most important sources of vegetable oil. From vast golden fields stretching for miles to factories operating around the clock. How is sunflower oil actually made? Few people realize that this plant originated in North America and was first domesticated by Native American tribes around 4,000 years ago. They used sunflower seeds as food, ground them into flour, and even used the flowers to make dyes. Everything began to change when sunflowers were brought to Europe in the 16th century. At first, they were mainly grown as ornamental plants because of their giant flowers that always seemed to face the sun. But over time, people discovered that their seeds contained an astonishing amount of oil. By the 19th century, especially in Russia, sunflowers were being cultivated on a large scale for cooking oil production. Since then, a flower once found mainly in gardens has become the foundation of a global industry worth tens of billions of dollars. Before we look at how sunflower oil is produced, there is an even more interesting question to answer first. Why do sunflower seeds contain so much oil? Each sunflower seed is essentially a tiny energy storage unit. Inside it is a large amount of fat that the plant accumulates during its growth. When the seed falls to the ground and begins to germinate, this stored oil provides the energy needed to support the young plant until it becomes large enough to produce its own energy through photosynthesis. For that reason, sunflower seeds can contain about 40 to 50% oil by weight. This is also one of the highest oil contents found in any commonly cultivated crop. To produce tens of millions of tons of sunflower oil every year, everything must begin in enormous fields. In countries such as Russia, Ukraine, Argentina, and Romania, sunflower fields can stretch for miles, forming vast seas of bright yellow flowers that are visible from the air. But behind that beauty is a carefully planned farming process. Before planting season begins, the soil is plowed, analyzed for nutrients, and prepared using modern agricultural machinery. Then, planting machines place each seed into the ground at nearly precise spacing and depth. Every step is aimed at a single goal: producing sunflower seeds with the highest possible oil content. As summer gradually comes to an end, sunflowers begin to change. Their bright yellow petals dry out, the heavy seed-filled heads bend downward, and the plants stop growing. These are the signs that harvest season has arrived. After months of cultivation and care, sunflower fields finally reach the most important stage of the year. Harvesting too early or too late can significantly affect both seed quality and overall yield. Today, most of this work is carried out by massive combine harvesters. As they move across the fields, specialized harvesting attachments cut the seed heads and quickly separate the seeds from the stalks and other plant material. The cleaned sunflower seeds are collected in storage bins inside the machine, while the remaining plant material is returned to the ground. In just a single day, a modern harvester can gather seeds from an area equal to dozens of football fields. Once collected, millions of sunflower seeds are loaded onto trucks and transported to processing plants, where the journey of turning them into cooking oil truly begins. Every day, thousands of tons of sunflower seeds are transported from the fields to processing plants. But before any oil can be produced, these seeds must pass through a series of strict inspections. As soon as the trucks arrive, seed samples are taken at random and tested for moisture content, cleanliness, and overall quality. The seeds are then unloaded into massive storage bins and begin their journey through the factory. Inside the plant, vibrating screens and powerful air systems remove dust, stones, and other impurities left over from the fields. Next, the seeds are dried to reduce their moisture content and prepare them for the most important stage ahead. After passing through multiple layers of inspection and processing, the sunflower seeds are finally ready to enter the transformation process that turns them into cooking oil. Up to this point, the valuable oil inside each sunflower seed is still locked within its structure. The factory's next task is to release that oil as efficiently as possible. First, the seeds are crushed to break apart their internal structure. They are then gently heated in specialized equipment. This step makes the oil more fluid and allows it to flow out more easily during extraction. Next, the material is fed into massive screw presses. Inside these machines, a rotating screw continuously pushes the material forward while the available space gradually becomes smaller. As the pressure increases, oil begins to flow out of the seeds and is collected separately. At this stage, the product is known as crude sunflower oil, while the remaining solid material is called sunflower meal. However, mechanical pressing still leaves a significant amount of oil trapped inside the meal. For this reason, many factories use an additional solvent extraction process to recover the remaining oil. Once the oil has been fully extracted, it goes through a refining process to remove impurities, unwanted color, and undesirable odors. By combining mechanical processing, chemistry, and modern technology, today's factories can recover almost all of the oil stored inside each sunflower seed before the final product reaches consumers. When oil is extracted from sunflower seeds, a large amount of solid material remains behind. This material is commonly known as sunflower meal. At first glance, it may look like an agricultural waste product. In reality, however, it has considerable value of its own. Even though most of the oil has been removed, sunflower meal still contains high levels of protein, fiber, and other nutrients. For this reason, it is usually not discarded. Instead, it is ground into smaller particles and used as animal feed, particularly for dairy cattle, beef cattle, and sheep. In many cases, the meal is also compressed into pellets or blended with other ingredients to create complete livestock feed formulations. Around the world, approximately 20 million tons of sunflower meal are used by the livestock industry each year. This allows producers to capture as much value as possible from every sunflower seed. As a result, almost no part of the sunflower seed goes to waste after the oil production process. After being extracted, refined, and tested for quality, sunflower oil is finally ready to leave the factory. On automated bottling lines, the oil is filled into thousands of bottles every hour before being capped, labeled, and packed into boxes. From there, trucks transport the products to distribution centers, supermarkets, and retail stores across different regions. For consumers, this journey may seem very simple. We only see a bottle of oil sitting on a store shelf, but behind it are months of farming, harvesting, processing, and transportation. From a tiny seed in a field to a product found in kitchens around the world, sunflower oil has traveled a much longer journey than most people realize. Perhaps no flower is more famous than the sunflower when it comes to following the sun. But the interesting thing is that this is only true during a certain stage of its life. While they are still young, sunflower plants slowly turn from east to west throughout the day, tracking the movement of the sun. At night, they rotate back toward the east to wait for the next sunrise. This phenomenon is known as heliotropism. However, once the flower matures and begins producing seeds, that movement almost completely stops. Instead of continuing to follow the sun, most mature sunflowers remain fixed facing east. Scientists believe this helps the flowers warm up more quickly in the morning and attract more pollinating bees. When picking up a bottle of sunflower oil in a supermarket, few people think that its price can be influenced by events happening thousands of miles away. For many years, Russia and Ukraine were the world's largest producers and exporters of sunflower oil, supplying a major share of the global market. As a result, when conflict broke out in the region in 2022, supplies were disrupted and sunflower oil prices rose sharply in many countries. This shows that sunflower oil is more than just a simple agricultural product. It is also part of a global trade network, where weather, harvests, and even geopolitical events can influence the bottles of oil that appear on store shelves every day. Looking back at this entire journey, perhaps the most remarkable thing is that it all begins with a tiny seed. From sunflower fields stretching to the horizon, to massive harvesting machines and modern processing plants, everything works together to produce a cooking oil that appears in kitchens every day. Sunflower oil is more than just an agricultural product. It is the result of thousands of years of history, science, engineering, and a trade network that spans the globe. Perhaps the next time we use sunflower oil, we will see it a little differently. Not just as a familiar ingredient, but as the final stop in a long journey that began with flowers turning toward the sun. If you enjoy stories about history and the production journeys hidden behind everyday products, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss our future videos.